you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As long as we're talking about numbers, Ms. Tandon, you talked about cutting food stamps. I just want to reinforce what Senator Sessions said. In the year 2000, 17 million Americans were on food stamps. It cost about $17 billion. Last year, 47 million Americans, an increase of 30 million more Americans were on food stamps, and it cost almost $80 billion. And I have the entire list here. I've never seen a cut in the program as far as grown. So just to give us accurate information from that standpoint, we share the same goal here. I agree with you, Ms. Tandon, that the question is, are we expanding opportunity for all Americans? We want a prosperous America, and that's really what we have to talk about. And Mr. Doar, I want to just talk a little bit about the minimum wage and a potential loss of 500,000 jobs. I mean, those are estimates. That's true. But you talked about the Earned Income Tax Credit. Isn't that a better way of addressing individuals, particularly head of households that are in low-wage jobs, to rise them out of poverty without risking job loss?
Yes, it's a better way, it's a more targeted way, it's a more effective way. And there are portions of the population, like single individuals without children, that we could do more to make them a more beneficiary of the EITC, to help them get into the workplace.
Well, let me just throw out a couple more numbers. If we were to increase the minimum wage from $7.25 to $10.10, that would raise an annual salary about $6,000. We had an Inspector General's report about the Earned Income Tax Credit showing that between 21 to 25% of those payments were improper, costing about $11 billion per year. So if you take $11 billion divided by, let's say, the 900,000 people CBO estimates the increase in minimum wage would rise out of poverty, that would be about almost $13,000. I mean, if we would solve that improper payment problem, possibly eliminate the individual taxpayer identification number that leads to that fraud, couldn't we make the Earned Income Tax Credit a far more robust program and do far more better job of raising people out of poverty without risking jobs?
It's a good program, but it's not perfect, and it needs fixing, and that is a major problem with the program.
We had an incredibly interesting witness last year in the Budget Committee right here in this room. He was the head of the Welfare Department in Pennsylvania. And he had done a study on a single mom who, again, we've got a great deal of sympathy for. We all want a strong social safety net to help people like that. But his study showed that beyond $26,000 of income, that young woman had no incentive. There's no marginal benefit because of increase in taxes, reduction in benefits, for her to earn $27,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000. She would have to leapfrog into the $60,000. Can you just speak to the disincentivizing nature of our social safety net?
Well, sometimes the arguments are made about the marginal tax rates, and that would lead to greater benefits or slower phase-out periods further into the middle class. I have some concern about that for budget deficit reasons. So sure, there is a conception that the loss of the assistance from government will make someone less likely to move up the economic ladder or take a higher paying job. But I have not been persuaded that that is so significant that we should extend assistance even further up the economic ladder.
I'm not talking about the solution. I'm just talking about the reality of the situation. Just like we heard with CBO, because of the Obamacare subsidies, 2.5 million people will remove themselves from the labor force, which, Mr. Winsop, let me ask you, that's not good for the economy, is it? Because you have to combine human capital with financial capital to make an economy grow, correct? Can you speak to that disincentivizing nature?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think the problem with a lot of policies that look really attractive, like raising the minimum wage, is that the benefits to them are obvious and clear-cut for the people that get them. To the extent that somebody's wage goes up from $7.25 to $10.10, that's a clear benefit to them. The costs are much more diffuse, and so for the people who lose their job or who never get hired because the cost of hiring has gone up so much, that's a real problem. I think.
We always hear that raising the minimum wage increases demand. Who pays for that, though? I mean, and isn't that a business that pays it, and doesn't that decrease demand? I mean, aren't you taking money out of a business owner's pocket, which, from my standpoint, is going to probably reduce the number of jobs available, but also reduce that business person's purchasing power, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, the effects of increasing the wage in any given moment, I think, are really hard to predict. What we do know is that the major challenge of the Great Recession is long-term unemployment. That's the main way that this recession differed from past ones. Arguably, what the CBO report found is that there is a cost of raising the minimum wage that results in less employment. The flip side of that is you could actually lower the minimum wage and increase employment, and then we could use work supports like Mr. Dorer talked about if we worried about poverty increasing. So I think the earned income tax credit and those sorts of policies are just clearly better than a minimum wage hike.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And we have 4 minutes to get to a vote. I'm going to let Senator Whitehouse have the last